Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. This time I thought I would look at some songs that were not singles in the UK, but they were singles elsewhere throughout the world. This came about because somebody posted under my ABBA ranking video saying, can you rank the non-UK singles? Now I don't have a non-UK single, so I wasn't able to do it. I could if it just showed the albums. But it got me thinking about songs in general that were not released in the UK, which I thought should have been and would have been made great singles, but they have to have been released elsewhere. So I looked through Discogs, what you do whenever you're furloughed, nothing else to do, and I picked out 15 songs from 14 artists. I'm going to use 2 songs for one of the artists, and you'll probably guess who that is. So I think these all should have been released in the UK, but they never were. Okay, we'll start off with the first one, and it's T-Rex. Now there weren't many singles released in different countries that weren't released in the UK, but one I could find, and it was a Spanish release, was a song from Zip Gun, and it's called Think Zinc. Now it is better than the 2 singles that were actually released, Light of Love and Zip Gun Boogie. Now Think Zinc did get a release in 1983 when it was remixed, when the Mark on Wax were reissuing all the Bolan albums from 72 to 77 in different horrible sleeves, and it did actually get a release then, but at the time it was released only in Spain, and I think it was probably one of the best songs in the album, so I think it should have been released in the UK. Okay, this one was released in Ireland, but it wasn't the UK, so it was only the Republic of Ireland. So really, if I had have travelled 35 miles, I might have been able to buy this single. And it's from Status Quo, from their 1982 album. There were 2 singles released here, She Don't Fool Me and Dear John. But in Ireland they released Jealousy, which again is the best of the 3 tracks. And I would have loved to have seen that released in the UK, but it wasn't. Eventually it did make its way under as a B-side, or maybe possibly an A-side, for Francis Rossi and Bernard Frost about a year or so later, or 2 years later. But this is the Quo's version, never got to be an A-side. Another one in Germany now, and from 1981, from the Slade album Till Death Do Us Part. They released Rock and Roll Preacher, which again is probably the best song off this. The singles that we got were Lock Up Your Daughters, which is fine, Ruby Red, which is brilliant, and Knuckle Sandwich Nancy, which not a lot of people like, but I do like. But I would have loved to have seen Rock and Roll Preacher. It's a classic song, a brilliant opener to a concert song, so it is. So it got a release in Germany. Now quite a few of this list are from the USA, and the first one I'm going to touch on is the Rolling Stones, Goat's Head Soup. We only got Angie, they got Angie, and the Do Heartbreaker, which is a fantastic single, and I don't understand why the UK never released a second single off this. They never did it for any of the first 4 albums of the 70s either, or even the first 1, 2, 3, 5 albums of the 70s, which is a shame, because it would definitely have been a surefire hit. So that's Heartbreaker from the Rolling Stones, which got released in the USA. And also in the USA, I've mentioned this 100 times before, Queen, Calling All Girls. It would have been a hit here without a shadow of a doubt. I would have dropped the Backchat single and released Calling All Girls instead. Some people would probably have dropped the Body Language single, but I think it's actually very good and it's very adventurous. But Backchat's not a great single. It's a very good LP track, but not as a single. Calling All Girls, I think, would have got top 20 at least for Queen if it had been released. There's some obvious ones, and this is the one that most people will know, and it's from Ram. And the UK got Backseat of My Car, which is many people's favourite Paul McCartney song, never mind single. Yeah, it's good, but as a single, Uncle Albert Alberyl Halsey wins every time. Never released here. Should have been. Funny enough, it got on the Wings' Greatest Hits. Backseat of My Car didn't, so it's the most famous song off this, and I think it would have been massive in the UK. Backseat of My Car, I don't even think it broke the top 30, but it's still a fantastic song. But Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey is the choice for me, and got to #1 in America. Nick Lowe in 1984 released the song Breakaway from this album in the Netherlands. This is a cowboy outfit. There was 2 singles off this, the fantastic Half a Boy and Half a Man, and the rather mediocre and uninspired LAFS. I would have dropped the LAFS and put in Breakaway. I don't know if it charted in the Netherlands or not, but it's a really catchy number, and it would have been a fantastic single to follow Half a Boy and Half a Man, which was a minor hit here in the UK. But by this time, Nick Lowe, he wasn't making any pop hits at all, and he wasn't even charting with the albums either, which is a shame because all these albums are really, really strong. Okay, the next one, we go to the mid-60s, and this was actually the lead off of an EP in the UK. It wasn't on an album. It's by the Kinks, and it's A Well Respected Man, which was a single in Italy amongst other places. It's a typical Ray Davies song, acoustic-y, everyday life type song, but it's absolutely brilliant. And whenever I saw the Kinks live in 1981, the first concert I ever went to, they actually played that, and I couldn't believe it. Fantastic song. So it would have been a big hit in the UK without a shadow of a doubt. But it was relegated to an EP, and I do say relegated because I think I don't know what EP sales were like, but I'm sure they weren't the same level as the 7-inch singles. So A Well Respected Man, a single in Italy, not in the UK. Electric Light Orchestra, and from this album the Netherlands got Poor Boy the Greenwood, which is the best song off this album, and I know that Can't Get Out of My Head was a big hit in America, but I think it's too Americanized for the British audience at that time. I think Poor Boy would have been much, much better. It's a very, very catchy song, and it would have been a really good follow-up to their Mama Belle single. Now, Poor Boy did get on as a B-sided Telephone Line about a couple of years later, but on its own I think it would have been a really good single. The Netherlands got it, we didn't. Many may be surprised that this wasn't a single in the UK, because it's one of his most famous songs now, probably because of a film in the early 2000s which I can't remember the name of. But this is Elton John, and the song is Tiny Dancer. It was a single in America, not in the UK. In fact, there was no singles whatsoever taken off this album in the UK. America had Tiny Dancer and Leave On, which is another good song, but Tiny Dancer has gone down as one of his all-time classics. Why it wasn't released, I don't know, but it should have been. So the lucky United States, they got the single, we didn't. Kate Bush, and this here from The Dreaming. I'm not going to say the Irish Night of the Swallow, but in Germany they got Suspended in Gaffa, and it's my favourite song off this, and it would have been a far better single than what the UK got, and that is There Goes the Tenor. The Dreaming and Sat in Your Lap were the other 2 singles off this, but maybe it is the sort of Cockney voice of There Goes the Tenor which got the UK release, but Suspended in Gaffa for me was the song crying out to be a single, but it never was. So that's Kate Bush in Germany, Suspended in Gaffa. The Beatles. Now there's quite a few Beatles singles in America. I'm only going to pick one that weren't UK singles, but the one I think should have been was 8 Days a Week. I think it's a magnificent song, really, really good, and to me it should have been the follow-up or the single before I Feel Fine. I'm not too sure which came first, this album or I Feel Fine, but one or the other. I think it would have made a fantastic single. I know not all their albums had singles on them, but quite a few actually did. So Hard Day's Night had 2, and 8 Days a Week was good enough to be a single, and I think the UK should have got that. ABBA in France Off this album they got the song Eagle. There's a video for it and all as well, and it was actually, it's about 5.5 minutes long, 5 minutes 51, but it is edited down to 3.5 minutes and it works perfectly. They got the single, and I think it was a double A side with Thank You For The Music, which wasn't a single in the UK either until after they split in '83, but this would also have made a really brilliant single, and I guarantee it would have got to #1. In fact, you would have had 3 #1s off this album, because the other 2 singles were Take a Chance on Me and The Name of the Game. Okay, so 2 I'm going to show by David Bowie, and in 1979 from the Lodger album the US got Look Back in Anger. We got DJ. Look Back in Anger is the better song, without a shadow of a doubt. Boys Keep Swinging was the other single, which, yeah, had to be a single, had to be the lead off as well. But for me, Look Back in Anger was the obvious choice as a second. And even the third, if there was to be a third single, it would have been, for me, it should have been Yassassin, which I think was a single in the Netherlands. But Look Back in Anger, American single, not over here, and a fantastic video for it as well. And probably the most obvious one that was a single in the States, even though it didn't do well, but I'm certain it would have done well over here, and that's from Diamond Dogs, and that's the song 1984. Rebel Rebel was the first single, fantastic song, absolute iconic Bowie number. The second song is also an iconic Bowie number, Diamond Dogs, but it's too long to be a single. It's a better song than 1984, but as a single 1984 would have been perfect, because it was going to pave the way to its next phase, which was the Young Americans phase, and the David Live phase as well, obviously, because he released Knock on Wood, the soul song from that live album. But 1984 showed the way it was going, and it would have been a brilliant second single, just to say this is the way I'm going in my musical direction. So 1984, single in America, not in the UK. Okay, so that's some singles that America, USA, France, Ireland and various other countries have got that we didn't get. I think they should have been released, but there you go, they weren't. So anyway, it means I can look them out and see if I can get them in picture sleeves and add to collections. Anyway, that's me for now. I hope everyone's keeping well and keeping safe, and I hope to have another video quite soon. All the best now. Bye bye.